In 1979, one of the most powerful U.S. allies in the Middle East collapsed almost overnight, and most people still don't fully understand how it happened. Iran didn't fall because of a foreign invasion or a massive war. It fell from the inside, quietly at first, then all at once. What makes this story disturbing is not just that a king lost his throne, but that almost no one saw it coming. And by the time the world realized what was happening, it was already too late. Before the revolution, Iran was ruled by a man who looked unstoppable. Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi sat on a golden throne backed by the United States, armed with one of the strongest militaries in the region, and surrounded by luxury. Tehran looked modern, wealthy, and Western. Skyscrapers were rising, oil money was pouring in, and the Shah dreamed of turning Iran into a global superpower. On the surface, it looked like success. But underneath that shiny image, the country was boiling. The Shah ruled like a king from another century. His secret police, known as Savak, watched everyone. People disappeared in the night. Torture was common. Speaking against the government could destroy your life. While elites lived in mansions, millions of ordinary Iranians struggled to survive. To them, the Shah didn't look like a modern leader. He looked like a puppet king, propped up by America and completely disconnected from his own people. At the same time, something else was happening in the shadows. A quiet religious scholar named Ruhollah Khomeini had been exiled years earlier for criticizing the Shah. He lived far away, first in Iraq, then in France. He had no army, no money, no government, but he had something more powerful, an idea. Khomeini told Iranians that the Shah was corrupt, un-Islamic, and illegitimate. He didn't need TV stations or social media. His speeches were recorded on cassette tapes and secretly passed from hand to hand. Mosques became underground news networks. The revolution wasn't on the streets yet, but it was already in people's minds. By 1978, the pressure exploded. Protests broke out across Iran. At first, they were small. Then they turned massive. Millions marched in the streets, not just students and activists, but workers, shopkeepers, religious families, and even government employees. What shocked the world was how fearless they became. Soldiers were ordered to shoot crowds. Many refused. Some even joined the protesters. The Shah still had tanks and jets, but he was losing the one thing that actually matters in power: loyalty. Instead of crushing the rebellion fast, the Shah hesitated. He tried reforms, then crackdowns, then reforms again. It made him look weak. Every delay emboldened the opposition. Rumors spread that God himself had turned against the Shah. His image, once larger than life, now looked fragile. People who had feared him for decades suddenly sensed blood in the water. In January 1979, the unthinkable happened. The Shah left Iran. Officially, it was for medical treatment. In reality, it was exile. After 37 years on the throne, the King of Kings slipped out of his own country like a man running from his past. Many Iranians celebrated in the streets. They believed freedom had arrived. What they didn't realize was that the most dangerous phase was just beginning. 2 weeks later, Khomeini returned to Iran after 15 years in exile. His plane landed in Tehran, and millions flooded the streets to welcome him. It was one of the largest human gatherings in history. To his followers, he wasn't just a political leader. He was a savior, a symbol of justice, a man sent to cleanse the nation. While Western leaders hoped for a moderate future government, Khomeini was already planning something very different. Within months, the old system collapsed completely. The monarchy was abolished. Revolutionary courts were set up. Former officials were arrested and executed after quick trials. What had started as a broad protest movement was now being taken over by hardline religious forces. Many of the same liberals and students who had fought the Shah soon realized they had helped create a new kind of dictatorship. Then came the moment that permanently poisoned U.S.-Iran relations. In November 1979, radical students stormed the American embassy in Tehran and took 52 Americans hostage. They were held for 440 days. The world watched in shock as blindfolded diplomats were paraded on television. Too many Iranians. This was revenge for decades of U.S. support for the Shah. To Americans, it felt like a betrayal by a country they once considered a friend. Behind the scenes, Iran was transforming fast. Khomeini crushed rival political groups. Newspapers were shut down. Protests were silenced. Women were forced into strict dress codes. The new Islamic Republic promised justice, but ruled with fear. Many Iranians who had celebrated the revolution now found themselves trapped inside it. The untold truth is that the Iranian Revolution wasn't stolen in one night. It was slowly hijacked. Millions wanted freedom from a king. Instead, they got a system even harder to escape. History often sells this story as a simple clash between a dictator and a people. In reality, it was a perfect storm of fear, faith, foreign influence, and political mistakes that spiraled out of control. The fall of the Shah didn't just change Iran. It reshaped the entire Middle East and still affects global politics today. What began as a revolution against oppression became a warning about how quickly power can change hands and how revolutions don't always end the way people expect. And that's the part history doesn't like to admit. The Iranian Revolution didn't just overthrow a king. It proved that sometimes when a system collapses, what replaces it can be even darker.